Movie buffs, welcome back to the Movie Bay. This is D. In today's video, we're going to talk about one of my favorite things in media, movies, TV shows. Just one of my toys, just one of my favorite things. Okay, we're going to talk about Transformers, but we're going to talk about the two animated movies, theatrical releases. That's why we're going to talk about these. These are in a 38-year span that this franchise has been going. I'm sorry, 40 years that this franchise has been going. It's just 38 years, but difference between these two movies. But the franchise is actually 40 years old. 41 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Now it's 2025. But we'll say 40. Transformers 86 is the first Transformers movie, period. Okay? Now we have Transformers 1, which is the latest Transformers movie. Okay? There's been some comparison, not a lot of verses. You can't verse these. They're totally different. They're different stories. They're different. They're taking place in different times. Transformers 86 is a direct spinoff from G1 Transformers. This movie happens between season 2 and 3. Okay? After this movie started season 3. This is something totally different, something totally new. I do believe that we're going to get more of these. I'm hoping that we get more of these. And again, sidebar, they did a piss poor job at marketing this movie. They did a piss poor job at promoting this movie. It was a little bit of promotion. It did okay at the box office, but I don't think it did as good as it should have done. This movie was phenomenal. I give this movie like 10 stars out of 10. This movie is an absolute banger. It's a really good movie. But anyway, so I've heard some people, talk about how much better this one is than this one. It's not better. It's not. It's not a movie to be better than this. And I'll tell you why. And this one isn't better than this one. It's not about that with these two. I'm going to tell you. Transformers 86 came out in 1986, okay? 38 years ago. The animation on this, don't get me wrong. This Blu-ray right here look crispy as shit. Now, I had this on DVD for years, and it looked good on DVD, but this Blu-ray is much brighter. The animation is just top-notch. When this movie came out, the animation was top-notch, and if you watch this now, the animation still look real crispy in this. The only thing about this movie was there was some animation errors, but that was par for the course back then. Animation is no way near as sophisticated as it's become over the decades since this release. But even with those few animation errors that they had, this movie still looks beautiful today. You could pop this in your Blu-ray player and watch it, and it looks stunning. This is on a whole different level than this as far as animation. Animation now is done on computers, so you can make the animation damn near perfect, okay? It's different. This is hand-drawn. I'm not sure if it was some computers involved, but back then, most of the animation was hand-drawn, storyboards and all. So that right there, I'm going to go ahead and say, no, it's not so much that this is better. Of course, it's better, newer technology used to create this movie, but this movie is still gorgeous. Even by today's standards, this movie is drop-dead gorgeous if you watch it. And I would imagine what the 4K of this one look like, because this Blu-ray, compared to the DVD looked good, but this is super crispy compared to the DVD. And I can only imagine what the 4K looks like. Again, like I said, no, I'm not going to let y'all beat this one up, because this came first. This one came first. Now, there was some talk about the story. You can't compare the stories either. This movie is taking place during the Great War. This movie is an origin story. This movie is millions of years, takes place millions of years before this one. The stories are totally different. This is a complete origin of Optimus Prime, Megatron, the Autobots, the Decepticons, and Cybertron. This is a origin of the whole thing. This is where it all starts, right here. So it's different. I don't understand where any comparisons come from. You can't compare these movies on story, animation, anything. You really can't. But I will say this, they're both fantastic. And I do believe, from what I'm hearing, this one is going to be the new Transformers canon, mythos, however you want to word it, moving forward. Everything is going to be based around this, and I think this is a really good base. In this movie basically right here was just like movies and cartoons was back in the 80s. There was actually laws on the books before, but when Reagan got elected president, he took those rules off the books. There was limits as to what they could push to children in cartoons, as far as, you know, promoting toys and all of that kind of stuff. There was limits to that. When Reagan took over, he got rid of those limits. And boy, oh boy, was toy companies going batshit crazy in the 80s with toys, which looking back, there was way worse things to promote to kids than toys. Let's just be honest. But again, back then, there wasn't really a lot of worse things to promote to kids. So, you know, parents groups and all of that, they had to find something to pick on, like they do now. They always want to find something to pick on. But when those restraints was lifted by the Reagan administration, boy, it was all out. We had the best toys, the best cartoons back in the fucking, like in the 80s, like throughout the 80s up until like the 90s, like the mid 90s. We had the best cartoons and the best toys, and I'm saying that now straight up, because I look at the cartoons that's out there now and the toys and stuff is out there now. It's not even close. It's not even close. But again, this was looked at more so as an ad to sell toys. And again, that was par for the course. And it was. All the Autobots that pretty much got killed off in this movie, their toys was discontinued. That's why they was killed off. And all these new Autobots came out in the neck when this movie was over. All those toys was on the shelf. In fact, some of these toys was on the shelf before the movie even came out. So this was a big push to push toys. That's why a lot of the beloved Autobot characters got killed off in here. But they screwed up when they killed off Optimus Prime. There was a lot of pushback on that one. You notice they brought Optimus Prime back in season 3 with that, I think it was a 2 or 3 part series, mini, The Return of Optimus Prime. So there you go. This one is not so much a push to sell toys. I'm quite sure there's going to be toy sales involved, but I don't think that was what this was all about. This is just a fantastic movie. And let's talk about some of the voice talent in both, because both of these movies got legendary voice actors. Here, you got Peter Cullen, who's the voice of Optimus Prime. And when I say he's the voice, he is what Peter Cullen is to Transformers, what Kevin Conroy is to Batman. That's just it, full stop. Have there been others to voice Optimus Prime? Sure. Have there been others who voiced Batman? Sure. But when it come down to the come down, Kevin Conroy is Batman. Peter Cullen is Optimus Prime. Then you got Frank Welker, who was the voice of Megatron. And Frank Welker is probably one of the most decorated voice actors of all times. If you Google search Frank Welker's, his body of work, he voiced so many characters from my childhood and yours that you wouldn't believe all the different cartoon characters that he voiced over his career. It's incredible. So you have those two. Then you have Robert Stack as Ultra Magnus. You had Orson Welles as Unicron, who was very sick during production of this movie, who passed away right after this movie was done. You had Judd Nelson as Hot Rod / Rodimus Prime. Susan Blue as RC. Leonard Nimoy, Spock, as Galvatron. The voice talent in this was incredible. And let's not talk about the music in this. You got The Touch, Dare to Be Stupid by Weird Al. So many banging ass songs. The soundtrack in this movie was incredible. Let's come over here. This had a pretty decent soundtrack. To me, the soundtrack in this is better. I will say that. But the soundtrack in this one was okay. But in this one, you got some great voice talent too. One I was very skeptical on going into the movie, but man, he pulled it off and did a great job. So we got Brian Tyree Henry as D16 / Megatron. Okay? He did a fantastic job as D16 and as Megatron. His Megatron voice was very menacing, very imposing, really good. Then we had Chris Hemsworth as Orion Pax / Optimus Prime. And I was a little skeptical on Chris Hemsworth. I was. But man, did he do a good job as Orion Pax and his Optimus Prime voice was really good too. You didn't really hear that too much in the movie. That came like right at the end, but he did a good job. And I didn't think Chris Hemsworth was the right pick for that, but he did. And then when I realized what this was all about, this is an origin story. They didn't want a deep, heavy, battle-born, battle-ready voice like Peter Cullen gave Optimus Prime. They wanted a younger voice because this was a young Optimus Prime who had just became a Prime. So I get where they was going with this. And he actually was the voice of Orion Pax throughout pretty much 90% of the movie before he became Optimus Prime. So yeah, Chris Hemsworth, fantastic job. Then we have Michael Keegan as Bumblebee. I think he was B112 or some shit like that, B117, something like that. And he did a fantastic job too. Michael Keegan, he did a great job as Bumblebee in this movie. Then we had Steve Buscemi as Starscream, which again, you didn't get much of that, but what we got, it was really good. Okay? Then you got John Hamm as Sentinel Prime, who did a fantastic job voicing Sentinel Prime. All of these characters, then we had Scarlett Johansson as Alita before she became Alita 1. Fantastic movie, great animation, great voice talent. I mean, it's just a banger. And from what I'm understanding, this is going to be like canon moving forward in the Transformers, at least in the animated universe. This is what it's going to be moving forward. From what I'm hearing, I would like to see a sequel to this. I hope if this movie do get greenlit for a sequel, I'm hoping. I don't know how well this one did. I don't think it did as well as they wanted it to do, but I blame that on the piss poor promotion of the movie. That's my opinion. The movie is fantastic and worth a watch. If you don't have this in your collection and you are even a casual Transformers fan, I say check this out. It's streaming on Paramount Plus if you don't want to buy it. At least watch it, stream it, watch it. You're going to get a lot of enjoyment out of the story. The friendship between Orion Pax and D16, Megatron / Optimus Prime, the friendship that they had, and to watch that friendship throughout the movie start to degrade, because the friendship actually started degrading right after they got their sparks. And I'm not going to give too much of the movie away, but the friendship really started degrading before that final conflict. It really did. D16 started changing as soon as he got his, basically, when he witnessed something, it angered him to the point where he just started losing it slowly. So by the time we get to that end of the movie, the friendship is pretty much gone. But they was really tight. And then there's a flashback scene at the very end of the movie that really almost, not bring you to tears, but like really like, and that was effed up because they was really tight. And to see them, you know, go at each other in war and starts a battle that spanned over millions of years between the Autobots and the Decepticons. Great starting point for the Transformers. Fantastic. I would have to say this is probably one of the greatest prequels of all times. One of the greatest prequels of all times. This would definitely, if I was to do a list of top 50 prequels, this would be on that list. Well, guys, that's it. That's my little take on Transformers 86 and Transformers 1. Neither one is better than the other. Like I said before, they two different movies. They coming from two different perspectives. They're going to appeal to two different generations. Really, not really. I'm going to say both of these will appeal to pretty much the same people, Transformer fans. Transformers, of course, this will appeal to slightly older Transformer fans, and this one too. But this, I'm not sure how many younger Transformer fans are going to gravitate to this one like this one. But this one got that multi-generational appeal because of when it came out. And a lot of fans of this is still alive. I'm here. I was 13 years old when this movie came out. And yes, I went to the theaters to see it. Okay? So yeah. And by the time this one came out, I was 50. So there you go. Actually, I was 50. Yeah, I was 50 when this one came out. So I just turned 51 not too long ago. So yeah, I'm a fan. So that's my take on Transformers 1, Transformers 86. Please, if you're a collector, get them both. Put both in your collection. You won't go wrong. And again, if you don't own this one and you just want to watch it, it's streaming on Paramount Plus. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.